You're listening to Promptly Speaking, the podcast where we examine how AI is impacting the way that we live, work, and think. I'm your host, Sarah Roberts, and with me is my co host and husband, Dan.
Hey there.
In this episode, we're going to explore what the research actually shows about cognitive engagement, creativity, and motivation in the world of AI.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I know you and I both use it all day, kind of every day to help out with a lot of different things. And before we get into the studies, I'm curious if you've felt an impact in your critical thinking or reasoning skills.
I feel like I have, definitely. I think in some ways it does kind of reduce the barrier to entry, partly because it is very sycophantic. It's very complimentary, which we'll talk about can be definitely a negative thing, but it also makes me less self-conscious than if I were to bring an idea to you or
Yeah, you can bring a
peers.
totally half-baked idea, quarter baked, barely baked, and you're not going to get any weird looks, any slights. It's an open book. It's
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's interesting, since I've been at Glean, when I first started, it was like, "Oh my god, the easy button."
Right.
Like, oh, it just summarizes everything, I don't have to remember anything, which it does to a certain extent, and it is amazing, but I found myself having to have, back to, pen and paper quiet time
Mhm.
where I'm just thinking, I'm going through, "Okay, what did we talk about in that meeting? What was interesting?" And sometimes it just helps me, I just took a walk with Bear, walking around the park, and it was like, "Oh my god, this one thing that generative AI did not help me find or think about."
Yeah.
It popped into my head, and um, I think it's just so important to have that space, no matter what tool you're using your critical reasoning, thinking back, exercising your recall. I think those things are really important.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that I think about a lot as, being my own boss of like, I like to work as few hours as possible, but be as productive as possible in those hours. So, really paying attention to when my brain is better at certain functions. And um, I do some of my best brainstorming when I'm trying to take a nap.
Yeah, yeah. At 2 a.m. when you're trying to sleep, you're
Yeah,
just
well, that's annoying. That's really annoying. It doesn't happen all the time, but, like, sometimes I'll be really, really tired, I'm not getting anything done, and I try to take a nap, and then I get these great ideas, and I bounce out of bed, and then I'm more productive, and so for you, your creative ideas might come when you're taking Bear for a walk. For me, it, like, stresses me out before we do an episode, and I get too hot, and then I'm in front of the lights, and then it's not a good thing, but everybody is different, obviously, and so just paying attention, just a little reminder, pay attention to how is your thinking changing and when are you,
I think
having those ideas?
being honest with yourself too. That's been an interesting realization I've had recently of like, "Phew, that was a terrible idea. Why am I relying on Gen AI for that? I need to actually use my brain." Um,
Yeah, when I will say, like, when I first started there was a day when I opened up Claude and I was like, "Okay, how can I help me generate business ideas based off of my strengths and my expertise?" And, like, I can't remember what the idea was, and I've always had harebrained ideas even before ChatGPT. I mean, you're
or like read a children's book, like,
no, that was a good one, but, yeah, I went down this rabbit hole on this business idea that it was like, "Oh, this is an amazing business idea for this reason, and this is what the market is, and this is your differentiation." And oh yeah, it was that app on like, I mean, it was okay. It could have been okay, but like basically helping surface what trends
yeah,
you need as AI is becoming more and more prevalent in the workforce, and then pointing to different courses and then generating revenue through affiliate links. Like it was fine, but it
pretty
wasn't my best.
fragile, pretty fragile.
Yeah, it wasn't my best idea.
Yeah,
But like, but I went deep on it for like a week because
you were vibe coding.
a little bit, yeah. And Claude was telling me like this was the best thing since sliced bread, and
I've sort of
it wasn't.
I've read about so many of those stories where people are so excited about a new idea, and then they use just a different LLM, and the other one's like, "No, what are you talking about? There's 6 companies that already do that thing."
Well, or even at one point I was like, "Hey, are you sure about this?" And and it was literally like, "No, I hallucinated that. Like, that's not what the market is." Like, "What?" Like, "I know I'm lying to you."
Yeah.
Oh, so at least it tells you if you ask it, but
Alright, so the premise of this chat is about large language models, generative AI's impact on our cognitive ability. What does the research say?
well, the first one that I wanna talk about was an MIT study where it was a fairly small amount of participants. Let me just double check.
Oh, not another one of those.
Okay.
We interviewed 3 people, and he unanimously said,
No, it was okay, so it was 54 participants, and it wasn't peer reviewed, but basically the person who did the research was like, I just wanna get this out into the world because peer reviews take 6 to 8 months, and with how quickly
"It's
things are
moving too
changing.
fast."
Right, right. So, basically, what she did is she took these 54 participants and divided them into 3 different groups. Is 54 divisible by 3?
No.
That's what I thought. They were asked to write essays in response to an SAT prompt, and one group was allowed to use ChatGPT, the other group was allowed to use and the third group wasn't allowed to use either. And basically what they found is that the group that was using ChatGPT had the lowest amount of neural engagement. The brain was less engaged.
Wow.
The brain was most engaged in the group that didn't use either. And to take that a step further, then they had to write the same essay. And what they found was that the group that originally was not allowed to use ChatGPT and then the second time could use ChatGPT, they were still as engaged
Interesting.
as they were before.
So it's like the initial brainstorming piece and
Yes.
the hard part about creativity, doing that on your own without any cheat codes,
Mhm.
then using the cheat code.
Mhm.
That's the recipe for success. Did they have higher results?
Are you asking about, like, how well their essays were written?
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty subjective.
true. And there's only 54 people.
Right, there's only 54 people, and they did have 2 English professors look at the essays. What I do know is that they basically said that the people who in the first phase used ChatGPT that, like, it was very professional, it was grammatically correct, but it lacked a soul, whatever that means. Again, very subjective. But what's interesting is that the second time they apparently couldn't really recall anything about the first essay.
What? It's like they were just like hanging out, like
Yeah,
at
like they were
cars, like
like they were starting over. Like, because there wasn't as much engagement the first time around, they didn't have as much familiarity on the topic.
interesting. It's almost like a kid watching TV. And
Yeah.
you're like, so what were you watching? I don't know.
Right.
What was happening? And I just decided to do some quick calculations in my head. 54 is divisible by 3.
Oh, it is?
It's 18. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I've been doing too much chat
Yeah.
GPT. I can't do math anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you wanna hear about the second study?
Well, actually, I just wanted to point something out. We've talked to a handful of creators and entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and they've talked about that. Like, where do you leverage generative AI in the creative process? It's not in the beginning.
Mhm.
As I'm saying that, I also want to bring up the concept of so hallucinating can sometimes be bad. Hallucinating is when it just makes something up because it thinks it needs to create an answer and just literally creates something random. I've listened to a lot of people who are in the creative field and want the large language models to hallucinate, to just go wild. When you're in like the really scratch phases, like create something, completely hallucinate, don't think of anything that's ever held you back.
Mhm.
There can be some things that you find or think of or it helps you think of that are novel. So I think using it the right way when you are in a brainstorming
Mm,
session is important.
right.
I still think you need to do that part yourself. But the whole fact that they didn't remember
Yeah.
what they had done in their first essay.
But also, like, The thing too that I keep thinking about is like it might have been an essay on bugs and they hate bugs, and are not interested in bugs. Like, an SAT prompt is not something that I give two shits
Oh
about.
my
And
god,
so
hated those.
right. And so that's something that like okay, yes, there's the people that weren't allowed to use ChatGPT, they did have to think about it and get into it, but at the same time, like do I care to commit that to memory?
They're
Probably not. Probably not.
We've only got so much RAM up there.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like that example of like my parents with the hospital and writing that letter and it got resolved. Like, do they need to remember exactly who they reached out to and exactly what they said? No.
As long as the outcome is
Exactly.
where they wanted it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you actually created a great segue into the second thing I wanted to talk about,
Bring it
which
up.
is
Sure.
all about creativity. So, there was this other study also on creative writing that showed a couple of things. The first is that people who are naturally less creative and not as good at writing, when they use ChatGPT to write, the output was much better, much more interesting to read, more well written. But the people who are already creative and really good writers, it maybe helped them a little bit, but not really much. So it basically brought up the floor, but not the ceiling.
Mhm.
And that's something that research has shown is consistent across multiple disciplines. I mean, just think of like, I mean, coding isn't a great example because like I couldn't really code with ChatGPT. Like I can a little bit.
I'd have no idea if it was good or bad.
Like
Like,
at
that looks
least I can
confusing, it's probably good code.
But I mean, the gains that I can make in trying to code are like enormous. The other thing that it showed was that there was the variation in like of the subset of people who are less creative, not as good at writing. Yes, the essays that they wrote were better using ChatGPT, but they were more similar.
They get sanitized.
Right.
I've noticed this a lot. Google has recently started, in Gmail, making recommendations about how I write.
Oh yeah, you just swipe.
Oh, no, it's not that. It underlines stuff and it's like, "This grammar is incorrect," or "This syntax," or "This should be simplified."
Oh, really, kind of like Grammarly.
I don't know what Grammarly does. I never
Right.
used it. Um, it's really annoying. I think I'm a decent writer. I went to a really intensive writing college. Writing for work is really important for me. But I'm also a unique writer. I'm not a sanitized writer. And when I use its suggestions, it's really benign and lame and like by the book. But I'm just not a human anymore. I'm just another perfect robot. So that makes total sense. It's
Mhm.
like this reversion to the mean, which is an annoying mathematical concept.
Yeah, it makes everything a little bit more boring. I mean, just look at LinkedIn right now.
Oh my God. Everyone has the exact same format.
Yeah, well, which
And the hooks are lamer
I
and
know.
lamer.
Well, and I do the same, but I mean, it's just been proven that you do a little line and then a line break and then another line and then a line. So like the format's one thing. I think that's fine. That has been that way since before AI. It's the fact that like, God, there are so many posts that I mean, and it's kind of it's this vicious cycle of like you need to post all the time in order to get engagement. And ChatGPT or whatever LLM you're using makes it easier to write content more quickly. And you can pick your favorite posts, put them into your favorite LLM, and then ask it to write something, and everybody starts sounding the same. And it's just so annoying because it's not about value anymore. It's about increasing your likes because now you can monetize if you have a huge following.
Yeah. Well, you brought this up earlier where it's kind of an echo chamber. Like the
Yeah.
more you talk to it, it's the same thing with social media. Like all of these algorithms are making it so we're just hearing and seeing the same things. So I think it's a good lesson of like, to how should we interact with it? Not like we do with social media. You need to challenge things. You need to be creative first. Large language models are awesome when you know something really, really well
Right.
already. So the foundations are really, really important in order to get real, meaningful work done.
Yeah.
The like menial stuff, I think of writing as like a simple task that some people enjoy, some people don't. And the people who don't enjoy it, like use generative AI to write
Yeah.
really fast.
I mean, maybe the lesson is that, like, if you want to be amazing at something, like, if you wanna be a New York Times bestselling author,
which is only
be
1,500 books.
really?
I think so. It's really not that much. All these really lame books are, "Oh, you're a best-selling author."
Okay, so that's not a good, measure of success, but you know what I mean, if you wanna be, like, the Taylor Swift of whatever
You
your
gotta write your own songs.
yes, there you go. Yeah, love her new album, by the way. I think the point there might be that, like, if you are already the best of the best of the best, Gen AI isn't gonna really make you any better. It'll help you tweak, it'll help, polish things a little bit, but, like, everybody else is gonna be a lot closer to you than they were before.
Yeah. Yeah, the gaps are closing. I mean, I think that's a good thing that we wanna focus on in this podcast too, is, like,
Right.
how do we bring up the people who might be struggling in certain areas, who wanna do certain things, but, don't know how to quite get there? Unfortunately, you still have to think. Unfortunately, you still
Why
have
is
to
that unfortunate?
well, I mean, so many people think it's just a cheat code of like, "Oh, I wanna change my life and I want it to be better and I can use this." Boom. But it's not.
Well
You still have to have focus and drive and
well,
realize where you wanna go.
I think that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, ultimately, it's a good thing.
Right. That's not an unfortunate.
When I say unfortunately, I mean,
You a little tongue in cheek there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, you thought it was a cheat code easy button?" Well, unfortunately, you still have to think a little bit.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we all know that AI makes you more productive if you use it the right way.
Good caveat.
But there's an article in Harvard Business Review that talks about the trade-offs of this increased productivity. And they found that while people are much more productive and their output might be better, there was actually less intrinsic motivation. And when they then tried to do a similar task without AI, they were more bored.
Hmm. So it's like they get used to having this crutch.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like, okay, you're doing a math problem with a calculator. You can do some super complicated stuff and you're able to work through a lot of things much faster. But if you have to do it yourself from scratch with just a piece of paper and a pencil, like it takes a lot longer. And maybe halfway through, you're
Hmm.
like, man, this calculus sucks.
Right, and are we getting little, um, what is it? What's the chemical?
Serotonin?
Serotonin?
Hey, it's Sarah. Little correction here. We actually meant dopamine. That's the chemical that activates the brain's reward system. Serotonin helps regulate mood. Back to the show.
Yeah, like, are we getting little bursts of serotonin when we are more productive and we're completing tasks? I know I love to
Well, there's some people, yeah, it's like, all right, these are the 10 things I need to do. Boom, 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 boom. And that's even something that, in sales you're taught. You're like, oh my God, you wake up and you're like, I have nothing on my calendar. How am I ever going to drum up a meeting?
mhm,
What do I need to do? Well, you need a checklist. You got to
mhm.
start somewhere. And if you can knock those things off your checklist faster and faster and faster, awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a serotonin boost.
Well, and it can take away a lot of the, um, those in like, the struggle of thinking and remembering something and, like, that what I always found was challenging about the creative process is like, you have to wrestle with something for a little while and you have to think, this sucks. Like, I hate this idea and I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm doing. And I need to find a better idea. Like that, you have to go through that piece of it to get to kind of the next phase, I think. And so taking that away, then if you don't have AI, it's like, why would I wanna do like, why do I wanna do this without AI? Why would I do
Yeah.
but the intrinsic motivation thing I think is also really interesting. One thing that the Harvard Business Review article mentioned was that, like and I'm gonna put all of these in the show notes as well, so you guys can look them up and, please do tell us if,
Yeah.
they're
Correct us if we're wrong.
yeah, I yeah, so It was talking about how, okay, yes, we're more productive. Our work product might be higher, but we feel less agency over what we're producing. Agency being like
Like pride of authorship.
pride of authorship, control over the output. And that's part of it too. Like I'm so much more proud of what we've built in our life because we struggled a lot
Mm,
when we were younger. I didn't just marry you. Like you weren't some trust fund baby that I
opposite.
married.
I was in debt.
Right. But my point is, like, had I married some, rich guy that like came from money, I would probably be a lot less proud of owning a house and
Building a business from scratch before GPT.
hmm
Imagine that.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, I did it. I remember it.
Yeah. So this kind of reminds me of a conversation I had with a sales leader when I was at Salesforce.
Okay.
I was asking him, like, how do you know what to do in every situation every single time? It seems like you just have the cheat code of knowing, oh, well, this is the message you should deliver to this person. This is how we should think about this. These are the steps we need to take in order to get to the outcome. It's like, how do you know all this stuff? You're just like, well, it's just pattern recognition because I've been through it. I've committed it to memory. I've understood this deeply in my bones through experience. And so I'm able to just see this stuff right away. And I'm curious at your take if you think generative AI is going to hinder those abilities because we're kind of offloading it. Like you talked about, it's
Yeah.
like our second brain. It's like, well, why commit that to memory when I can just go access it whenever I want?
Right. Right. Well, and that's what they call the Google effect. So this was something that they researched from like 1980s to the 2000s of like what is the impact of having Google to have information right at your fingertips. Obviously not to the extent that we do it now with smartphones, so now it's accelerated, but the main takeaway was basically that when you know where to find information easily, you're less likely to commit it to memory.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, TBD, because I mean, I think it raises a philosophical question that I've been reading about, and there's clearly no consensus yet. But the real question is if we're committing things less to memory. And I know I sometimes feel like my word recall is declining, although I'm not a good case study for that because I've had two children and like I have major mom fog. But my memory recall may be declining just as my arithmetic skills are
Were those
way
ever any good?
maybe when I was like, in second grade or something and I couldn't use calculators. But my point being that like if we're offloading some things, then we're probably becoming a lot better at other things. Like, for instance, there's no way that I could have done as much research as I did for this episode in the amount of time that I did
How
it.
much time did it take you?
Maybe 2 or 3 hours I think I probably read 20 or 30 different articles, at least over 3 hours,
Yeah.
trying to figure all that out in a library and like learning what is that called? The Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got
Is
time for
that is
that.
that what it's
Yeah,
called?
it is.
And so people talk about, like, pattern recognition and being able to synthesize information more quickly, and that's certainly true in this case.
Yeah. I mean, it's like perfect research assistant. Hey, you did a lot of
I
research.
know, I know. Thanks, ChatGPT. I kept asking it though, like, "Can you check your work?" And, like,
Validate this.
yeah, and show me this and I did actually, like, open up all of the sources and actually skimmed the articles, which, okay, I only skimmed, but I was skimming in high school, which, was
Well, you can
20
read like
years ago.
19 times faster than I can. So
Yeah,
your skimming is my reading
yeah. My skimming is your reading?
because you can read a lot faster than I can. So you
Yeah.
can like your skimming is basically reading.
Your skimming is my rate of reading.
No, you can probably read faster than I can skim.
Okay, whatever. Um, People in general don't have to really learn arithmetic in the way that they did before calculators. It's not just in your bones. But if you can use a calculator to solve basic arithmetic, then you can solve other problems much more quickly that involve arithmetic.
So I actually was listening to another podcast that I like a lot, but gets really technical, called Training Data. They were deep into a conversation with someone in ed tech, talking about how the fact that kids are not learning how to like memorize their times tables
Mm-hmm.
is actually a detriment to them being able to do higher level problem solving. So think about, so we're first time home buyers, and a real estate agent is trying to pitch us on a home, and we can't do simple arithmetic in our
Right.
head, and they're taking advantage of us because they can. Well, then we're at the mercy of believing them.
Mm-hmm.
So little things like that, or maybe it takes us longer to go back and be like, okay, let me look at my phone. Did that actually make sense? Versus being able to say 18 times 3 is 54. Sorry, I couldn't figure that out before. But I think like those things, those foundational building blocks of how we think and reason allow us to make much, much faster just in time decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes back to the same thing of like having a good solid foundation understanding in something
Yeah.
and then using generative AI on top of it seems like it is the best practice. And there's a lot of evidence out
Yeah.
there that you've recently cited. And
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for doing all that research.
Yeah. You're welcome. I think some of the guardrails around AI usage are like, don't, and we've said this almost every episode, is like, don't take everything at face value, question it from a brainstorming perspective, creative idea generation. Try to do that on your own first before you ask it to generate ideas, because
Inception.
yes,
Yeah.
great movie. And try to carve out some time to do some thinking without AI.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
a big one.
yeah, yeah. But I also want to say the caveat being like, I don't want to villainize it too much, because every piece of technology has had an impact on the way that we behave, the way that we think, the way that we interact with the world. Google being one, calculators being another, the Industrial Revolution going from farming to factories.
The cotton gin.
The cotton gin. But we call it the unlock, the aha moment, like the way that Tiago was talking about, like it is changing his life for the better because of the way that he is asking questions and thinking through these higher level.
Yeah.
So I think just be cautious, try to like monitor your own thinking as you're doing this, but like I think there are a lot of really positive things that can come out of this. But I will say, because I kind of told you about the topics last night, and then I was researching it again, and then I kept asking ChatGPT, hey, like review what you told me. Is this correct? Where are you hallucinating? And like cite. And it said, like, actually, in the first study, there's no evidence of cognitive decline. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so I pulled up the article and I'm like, look, ChatGPT, like, see, it says that there's, reduced cognitive engagement. And it said, well, yes, you're right, but not cognitive decline. So like in my summaries, after I did the research, I copied and I pasted into Notion. And then if I rewrite my notes and I say cognitive decline instead of a decline in cognitive engagement, those are two totally different things. It did not prove that there was any cognitive decline long term. It was just that in the moment there was less engagement. But if you do research, then you write notes and then you put it back into ChatGPT, it might iterate on incorrect information.
Mm. Have you tried putting findings into a different LLM, large language
Yeah.
model?
Yeah, I do that too. And I was using DeepSeek and
Cool.
yeah. So,
Good a lot.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got time for today.
Okay. Happy 10 years.
Happy 10 years.
Dan and I met we're going to do the high five today? Oh, okay.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Dan and I met 10 years
We had our
ago.
first kiss 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It was a singles cruise. Everyone was rolling their eyes, and it's like, why did you come on a singles cruise if not to meet your future husband and give him a little kiss or two? Okay. All right, guys.
All right.
See you later. Thanks for stopping.
Thanks for stopping by, San Diego.
Thanks for listening to Promptly Speaking. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating, writing a review, sharing it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on new episodes. And we want to hear from you. Send your questions, comments, and favorite AI use cases to hello@promptlyspeakingpod.com. See you next week.